Okay, Bismillah. Welcome to the Bumblebee podcast. We have here your host, Virgil, Hafer, and we have our special guest, Mr. Kingsley.
Drum roll, please. Oh, you already said his name. Never mind.
It's okay. We just drum roll anyway and put it before somehow. Don't know how to do that. Anyhow, so we're going to keep it real today. We're going to talk about playing PC games, playing games in general. I think it's affected almost everybody. We have our mum, playing Bejeweled, Candy Crush for hours and hours. So as young people, seeing how do we manage it? How do we know when is the limit? Or are we just too old to play games? So, what do you think, Kingsley?
Never too old to play games.
I agree.
Yeah, so we just started to get Hafer involved with League of Legends, LOL. Mm-hmm. She has a bit of fun with that.
When I'm not dying every second, yes.
Yeah, never too old to learn, I guess you could say. And for Isaac, we let him play Minecraft and
he
a bit of
League
LOL,
of Legends as well, yeah.
A bit of Pokemon. I guess kid-friendly games.
Mario Kart.
Age appropriate.
Age appropriate. I think age appropriate is very, very important, especially with kids playing COD and GTA, Grand Theft Auto. Mm-hmm. It can affect a kid's psyche. I think we all had those moments. I mean, for example, me and Kingsley would play Halo when we were maybe
probably
underage. 8 to 10, when I think it was a 15 or at least 12 game. So where's the permissibility there, I guess we could say.
I just think when we were younger, our parents weren't so focused so much on age appropriateness, whereas now that we're older, we're able to see the effects that those games actually had on us as teenagers/children. So now it's like, well, I wouldn't want my child to play that, or I wouldn't want, my nephew to play that, because, I mean, it does make you a bit more aggressive in a way. I'm not saying it does completely, but in a way, like, your imagination is a bit more messed up, you could say. Like when you beat up the street civilians in GTA. It's just like, stuff like that is quite messed up.
I think there's more research also out there about how games can have a negative impact as well as a positive impact.
Especially if it's like unsupervised and unlimited, that's when, problems can occur.
Yeah, I guess with playing League of Legends, I was a bit on the older side, so having friends that would swear was acceptable.
You mean, when you say friends, do you mean people that you met online?
Yes, online friends.
So that's also a concern that you would have now as well?
Yes, especially with the amount of
grooming going on
online safeguarding issues. It's not even within games, just within technology. For example, Snapchat, it's easy to be anonymous, or I guess Instagram, or things like Roadblocks even. I'm very cautious of how Isaac is able to just add anybody and everybody. I mean, he has friends that are his age, but they always have friends that are friends of friends. Yes, yeah. Which becomes more problematic. What's your thoughts on that, Kingsley?
I think communication-wise, there's some good things. Like, obviously, VoIP is a technology that allows people from any kind of background, country, to talk to each other. So that's a good thing. But there needs to be some kind of consensus of how you approach yourself to other people and how you want to appear. So
Sorry, Kingsley. What is VoIP? I don't know what that is. Can you explain it to the?
Well, we're not technically using it right now, but in traditional sense, it's using voice over internet IP or video over internet IP. So the fact that we're talking to you now is kind of, well, it's based on this kind of technology where we can just discuss things in a much more open format.
Is that like Twitch, or is that like League of Legends, where they installed this voice inclined gameplay? Or are you talking about sort of like Skype and Zoom?
Well, in more competitive sense of like the gaming esports aspect, you want to strictly limit it to VoIP, like the voice over IP, because obviously knowing how someone looks like can be a detriment if you really wish to keep your own privacy at less of a risk than it needs to be at. Obviously, people shouldn't judge you on how you look, but there will be trolls who are people who just do it for the hell of it and want to despise you, unfortunately. But there should be some good things that VoIP and video over IP does.
I mean, I think some people just play games to be toxic. For example, in real life, you can't just, murder anybody that you want. You can't murder your boss or slap them up a little bit.
It's like their inner desires coming out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the toxicity needs to go somewhere, right? Like in the old days, people used to do martial arts or
chop firewood.
But
people still do that.
They used to hang people for, when they wanted to back in the old days, but you can't do that anymore. Yeah, so they have to do it in some other.
So would you say that
way.
It's a modern form of anger management?
Video games?
Or would you say that it supports violence? So which would you choose, anger management or in support of violence?
Maybe it can be a bit of both. It supports violence by giving you anger management therapy. I mean, I think all of the more popular games have some form of violence in it. It's just like television. It's just genres that are more not palatable. What would the word be? More successful, I guess you could say.
More general? Yeah, so
more general, more popular. For example, violence is just easier to portray. I remember talking to my friend Reese, and he would say that, horror is really, really easy to film and market. These are just easier target.
Action,
yeah, like action. Exactly.
People want to see that, like, either people want to be scared, they want to feel like they've escaped reality, or they want to see something that is not the average everyday. So action and horror and Army of the Dead type movies fill that void, unfortunately.
I mean, they're like base emotions that you can't really. It's not very complex. It's very simple. Fear
and adrenaline.
Yeah. And I guess that's what you have to be careful with, especially with children and their brain just developing. It's harder for them to understand. For example, we watch certain programs when we were younger, and then rewatching them when you're an adult, you realize you miss so many subliminal messages or secret messages that you can't
even
appreciate.
Things like Little Britain, you watch that today, you'll be like, the shock horror, ready to write BBC some long email. But 10, 15 years ago, that was the norm. It's just everyone evolves. We evolve over time. and each generation gets stronger and stronger and stronger with obviously their tastes and what's acceptable and what isn't, which is a good thing. Because I'm uncomfortable watching a lot of that stuff now, but before it'd be like, oh, you know, it's a ha-ha, but now it's like, how offensive. You know what I mean?
I mean, we didn't really watch a lot of TV. We only had the 5 channels. Well, you could say 4 because the 5th one wouldn't work because of bad aerial. But I don't know.
So was gaming was pretty much your entertainment then?
I guess so. I think we would just play Pokemon for hours and hours and just level them up till 99. I think it was more of also a babysitting tool / keep them occupied and let's do other stuff. Especially with our generation of parents that they were probably first or second generation immigrants. They needed to survive. They needed to or not be distracted by other kids. So that was their babysitting tool. And I guess it's cheaper than, you know, putting them in nursery, for example.
Because that is another issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Childcare is very expensive. Even having children is going to hurt a lot.
I think childcare is expensive, but I also think it's really worth it. Like, not only in terms of, you know, getting your time back, but the development of the child is just amazing. Yeah.
And guess what we wanted to talk about was development of children. We don't really have answers. We just have our own point of view.
We're just talking, really.
Just talking. Hopefully, if you guys have any questions or thoughts, then please let us know. We hope you enjoyed this Bumblebee podcast. We hope to speak to you soon and have some more interesting ideas and discussions.
Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bye-bye.